Hey, how's it going, everybody? Shaun here for another edition of Shaun Solo, and today I want to talk about some of my feelings, my reactions from E3 2015 Day Zero. Well, nobody called it Day Zero. I'm calling it Day Zero, but a lot of people kept referring it to the unofficial start of E3, which makes me just wonder why they don't just call it Day One of E3. It seemed a little silly. I guess because they're just sticking to the idea of the trade show floor and the conference center and stuff like that. But anyways, yeah. So I got some thoughts about the first couple things. First up, I want to briefly talk about or touch on the Nintendo World Championship 2015. It's the 25th anniversary of the original Nintendo World Championship, kind of the Wizard-esque challenge situation that happened 25 years ago. And as we all know, there's that really, really valuable cart out there where there's like 25 of them in the world for the Nintendo World Championships. That is kind of just a potpourri of different games and levels from games that you would have to beat in kind of certain times or whatever, challenge mode, basic stuff. Anyway, so they kind of brought it back. And it was really boring, actually. Did not enjoy myself very much. Some cringe-worthy hosts and panelists that were kind of commentating on the games, just filling it with nothing. I understand, like, a lot of the challenge of doing a live event of this, like this, is kind of, you're working against time. You're always having to fill time and things like that. So you get a lot of inane commentary, things that I don't know, they don't really matter. They're not very insightful. They don't add anything to it. Especially considering the fact that this was about a 3.5 hour commercial for Nintendo products and Nintendo games. Yeah, they threw some classics in there. People had to play through like an area of the original Zelda and Super Metroid, and then like Balloon Buffet or Balloon Challenge, something balloon related, old NES game, and that's really all there was. Because before the event took place, some people had to go to their local Best Buys and kind of compete in a tournament to try to like get into this thing. And they played. There's like this NES remix thing where it's like all different NES games kind of jumbled together, and you're playing like Mega Man on a Mario world and etc. But they didn't have anything like that here. It was mostly focused on newer games, to be honest, like Splatoon. That was the first game they played. And then after that, it was Mario Kart, and then Super Smash Brothers, and then at the very end, their newest thing that's coming out, I believe, relatively soon. I think it's coming out this year. Super Mario Maker, which is a Super Mario level builder, which actually looked pretty cool. That was pretty neat. But just the whole proceedings, everything about it was just grating and cloying and just aggravating. And then they had Chris Pereira, who is the former host of G4's Attack of the Show, was like the main host of the event, and he's a really uncharismatic, boring guy to watch. You're just like, oh god damn it, dude. It just like, things that are on the scale, I just don't understand how like ill planned they are. Never had a very good pace or flow. Like Chris Pereira and the panelists, like they just don't say anything that matters at all. Like it's some of the most like inane, boring shit, just filler talk. When they're not kind of inadvertently insulting the people that are playing the games, is kind of weird. Another weird thing I thought as well was there was a host of a small cadre of YouTube celebrities that were on the panel, but also contestants, and I was just kind of curious how they got picked. I guess I'm assuming they got picked just because of popularity. They had some dude from the Game Grumps. I believe he goes by the Ego Raptor. I think that's what he goes by. And that's the only one I recognize. But I assume some of the other ones were also like YouTube people, YouTube personalities, which I kind of just thought was kind of shitty and unfair. Like if these other people had to actually try to get in, like why they just got like a pass to get in. So I didn't really understand that. Like why wouldn't you just have this crowdsourced all the way in terms of competitors? But yeah, that's just me. Whatever. But like I said, it was a long commercial for Nintendo games, and they just talk about their features and it's just, I don't know, was not too into it. Even like the levels they raced in Mario Kart 8 were like some of the newer DLC levels too. So they weren't even like really classic levels or whatever. But they did, and they also played with a new 200cc mode. So it was all just kind of things to sell you something. Same thing with Splatoon. Like they showed you a few different game modes. They're trying to sell that, trying to push more copies of that. Same thing with like Mario Maker. Like this was kind of their big showcase for Mario Maker because we'd only seen kind of a few light hints of what it was. Like we kind of knew the basic concept of like, oh, you'll be able to build Mario levels. And that was kind of it. And now they're showing you how crazy you can make it and how ridiculous it can be. So that was the neatest thing, but I feel like that's the neatest thing because it was the one that I had seen the least of. Another thing they did was also the Super Smash Brothers, the new Super Smash, or the new Smash Brothers. I don't think it's called Super Smash anymore. New Smash Brothers, and where Reggie and the guy who won a Super Smash tournament last year, they played. Reggie Feliz Ami, or whatever his name is, the head of Nintendo of America. He came and challenged this dude because I bet apparently there was some bullshit thing where they did it last year. He challenged him last year, so I'm going to practice. He came and got his ass kicked, but even he like fell prey to the commercial aspect of it, where he picked the newest character, the one that was released actually yesterday, because Nintendo did a little like special presentation earlier in the afternoon about Smash Brothers stuff. So there's like some new stages and there's a few new characters, and he picked Ryu, the Street Fighter character. It was one of their newest ones, and that's the one that he picked. He got his ass kicked, and then there was kind of an awkward exchange. But that's really the perfect word. The whole thing felt really awkward. Even at the end, when they were giving this dude, Johnny Numbers, I believe his name is, like he won the entire thing, and they're giving him his statue, his trophy, and a signed 3DS from Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario. And it was just, the whole thing was just awkward and ill-planned, and Chris Pereira is just a dick, and he just does not, he does not care about like these contestants in a way that felt like he was trying to make sure they had a good experience. He was awkward and off-putting and distant with them. It's almost like, don't touch me. Like, it was, I'm sure these guys, they looked like they were kind of a little awkward, a little odd, right? But I mean, they're in front of thousands of people playing fucking Nintendo games for this competition. They're probably not used to that. I mean, I understand they are somewhat gamers in some respect. I think they do speedruns and all that good stuff, but I don't know. The whole thing was just kind of gross, which didn't really shock me, to be honest, because it's Nintendo. And Nintendo's main priority is just selling you stuff, which is fine. It's a company, so you gotta kind of expect that, but it was just in a way that just felt like awkward. It was off-putting. Ultimate pandering. But yeah, so even if you have a chance to watch a restream, I guess just skim through it or something. It's just skip to the end, really, just to check out the Mario Maker. That might be something that interests you, because like I said, that's the only kind of new thing of note that they really showed off. Now that all that dark business out of the way, let's talk about something fun, right? So Bethesda held like their own press conference, which is the first time they've ever done a solo one. Usually it's connected to another company's press conference, and they would just announce or talk about games. But Bethesda's grown a lot. They have a lot of projects in the pipeline, so they kind of have their own thing to talk about. Because not only are they a developer, they're also a publisher, so there was some nice stuff in there. I guess the first thing to talk about really is just Doom. Doom, which has been in development for a while. Like there's been rumors of a new Doom for quite some time, because it's been over 10 years since a Doom game came out. A new game, Doom 3, which was much derided entry in the franchise because it kind of got away. It was trying to evolve. It was trying to do what games should do, but people are so attached to the fundamentals of Doom, mechanically and the way it works, the arena style, and just the big guns and the demons and So when Doom 3 came out, it's a much different game. It's much more akin to something like almost like Dead Space or System Shock, even a little bit, than a traditional Doom game. But with Doom, just Doom, no numbers, no nothing. It's like a reboot or whatever. It's just what you do when you've done a few of these things in the modern day. Just called Doom, and it looks pretty cool. It looks like it is very much return to form for Doom. Seems like arena-style combat that is based on moving fast and Twitch gameplay, and And that is what people want. That's really what people want out of this thing. And they talked a little bit about the multiplayer. There's going to be some cool multiplayer modes, but they mostly focused on the single player experience, which is cool. Like I'm into that because I grew up playing Doom, so it's something in Quake and like all the other id Software games. Like so it's something Hexen. You know, like I've played all that stuff. They're all fundamentally similar, right? Quake, for all intents and purposes, Quake is kind of like that was like a new Doom, but it was back before like we would franchise things to death. So they were like, "Oh, we're gonna do a new IP." Yeah, I mean we could do another Doom. We could do like a more 3D Doom, but now we're gonna do something different. And then you got Quake and Quake 2, and then Quake Arena, and so on and so forth. But it looked good. Like the graphics engine looks beautiful. It's a beautiful looking game. Hopefully it plays as well as it looks. It looked like it played pretty well. I mean, granted these were like scripted demos, pre-recorded demos, so didn't see anything from any of these games played live on stage or anything. But that kind of got me excited. I'm totally looking forward to playing another Doom. Like there was some criticism I heard about like kind of the demon design, and I agree. I mean the new enemies are approximations of all the old enemies from Doom. So even going all the way to like Doom 64, it seemed like, if my memory serves me correct, like the big guy at the end reminded me of somebody from Doom 64 more than like Doom or Doom 2 or Ultimate Doom. So that was kind of neat to see that, but there's something really bland about them. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because it felt a little shooting gallery-ish. But that's the thing, though. Like, that's what Doom was. That's kind of what I think they think people want. It's like that's gonna be hard. That's gonna be a hard road to toe. It's gonna be a hard thing to balance. Like, where do you stop with like kind of antiquated style, and then where do you show your iteration? I guess like where do you show your modernist like design beyond just like levels and graphics and stuff like that. But it looked pretty cool, and it looked like it encourages a lot of fast gameplay. It encourages changing up your weapons on the fly constantly, so it looks like a very fast-paced game, which is cool, and I think that's what people are going to want out of it. The only big thing that they announced that could be construed as a surprise, or the first big thing, I guess there's two of them, but that could be construed as a surprise was Dishonored 2 was announced officially, which I'm looking forward to a lot, because I really love Dishonored. I think it's a really underrated game, and I don't think it gets enough love. You know, that's just everybody's, whenever you bring up Dishonored, everybody's like, oh yeah, Dishonored, that was all right, that was pretty good. A lot of people just didn't see it through to the end, which is unfortunate because it's a really badass game, and there's a lot of new cool features. You're gonna have the choice to play Emily, who was the young girl from the first game. She's now a playable character, and also Corvino, I believe that's his name. So he's coming back again. It's 15 years later. Other things is happening in another part of the region. There's more war. There's something else going on. So that seems interesting. They didn't. It was a like a CGI trailer. There wasn't any gameplay or anything. But this and Doom are actually slated to come out in spring of 2016. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. So there wasn't really much to talk about it, other than the fact that each character kind of has their own modes, their own movesets, their own skills, their own gadgets. So it's gonna kind of change things up depending on who you are. You are locked into that character. It's not like for your entire playthrough. Once you pick one, you're not going to be able to switch back and forth between characters during the story. And they asked about multiplayer or co-op, and they're like, no, we like to have like these kind of tight narrative experiences. That's the kind of games we make, and I respect that. Like, I think if that's not what your philosophy is, or like your design intent, then don't try to shoehorn it in there to please a modern audience, because we expect that. Like, I love games that are like built that way, like the BioShocks and stuff, and Dishonored and stuff like that. Like, so I'm on board for that stuff, because I just really I like a really well told story, so I'm looking forward to it. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to get out of my fucking mouth. So it seems cool. Seems like one I will probably buy. They also announced the Dishonored Definitive Edition, which I didn't see coming, but I'm down. They're going to be released for Xbox One and PS4. It's the first Dishonored with all the DLC and some graphic tweaks, and I think they mentioned some gameplay tweaks too. They tightened up the experience a little bit. So that I'm actually looking forward to that. And also because it was kind of an underrated game, it did fly under the radar for a lot of people. It's a good chance for new console owners to experience it, I suppose. I mean, granted, if you have a PC that can run it, you probably already have something definitive edition equivalent. There's a Steam sale going on right now. Bet you get it for like $5-6, maybe 10 at the most. It is worth every penny. It's a really fun game. It's the game you wish Thief was when they remade Thief. Like, it's pretty much, in terms of like the stealth mechanics and stuff like that. It works really, really well. Really enjoyable game. One that really does empower you. You do feel like you are in an open world, kind of, and not in a traditional open world, but an open world in the sense that you have a myriad of options to kind of attack any area and try to get by. Like, non-lethal is an actual legitimate, like, tactic. You could play the whole game without killing anybody. So that's pretty impressive. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And then they announced there's this other game they have, Battleborn, which kind of looks like, I think it's a free-to-play, like, kind of arena combat game that kind of looks underwhelming. Like, even the gameplay footage they showed on the trailer seemed kind of janky. That's just my opinion. I don't know. They also have Elder Scrolls Legends, which is their take on the Hearthstone-esque, these, like, Magic the Gathering, kind of these card game, challenge card games, which I don't really have any interest in at all. I'm not good at them. And I think that's more or less just because I don't take the time to really try to get good at them. So that's more on me than anybody else. And then the other big thing was Fallout. And also Fallout Shelter, which was their kind of big surprise. Go out and get it now moment. Halfway through the Fallout 4 presentation, they stopped and said, well, we're going to keep talking about Fallout, but a different Fallout. So there's this iOS game that's also coming to Android, I believe, in the near future. And it's called Fallout Shelter. It's free. It's kind of looks like this War of Mine. It looks like kind of a simulator, system management kind of simulator where you're taking care of people in a vault and trying to make sure they survive, I guess, and expand your vault. So it looks a lot like this War of Mine, actually, honestly, just not as dour. Not outwardly as dour, anyways. If you haven't played this War of Mine, I suggest you check it out. It's actually a really good, fun game. But yeah, and that's free. And when Todd Howard was up on stage, the lead for the new Fallout, lead director, I believe, he was, he kind of went out of his way to assure people, like, this is not like some kind of money gouging, like, free to play game. Like, yeah, you're gonna have the ability to buy some extra stuff, but it's not integral to the experience. We don't penalize. There's no time walls for not, like, paying into it. So that was encouraging. Actually, the more he talked about, like, his, like, kind of the studio and, like, the way they approach these things and what they're trying to do for players, and just, like, the importance he put on, like, how they design games for, like, kind of this do whatever you want, exist in this world, play it however you want. Like, there's tons, like, Fallout 4, for instance, has so many gameplay mechanics that a person would never even have to touch if they didn't want to. It seems like they've even streamlined, like, the VAT system. It's still there, but I don't know how necessary it is anymore. It's one of those things. It's almost like you'll be able to use it if you really want to. It'll probably be something that'll be more necessary on higher difficulties, but he said they paid attention. They wanted to make sure the shooting felt good and all that kind of stuff was headed in the right direction. So it's much more of a smooth, fun experience about being able to play it in first person and third person and still have a good experience with it. There's tons of crafting stuff and modding you're going to be able to do with weapons. I think he said there's 50 weapons and 700 different ways you can mod it, those weapons. So that's pretty crazy. That's pretty robust. There's this entire thing where you can build, like, little towns or whatever, little shanty towns that have to defend themselves from raiders and marauders, and so you're gonna have to build buildings and build defenses for those little areas, these little outposts. Like, so it seemed kind of, there's a lot of stuff that's really in depth, but he also said he just wanted to make it clear. He's like, you don't really have to do this stuff if you don't want to, because that kind of stuff is incredibly tedious, it's time consuming. So not everybody's going to be able to do that or have the time or the desire to, like, kind of take it that far. So I think that's an amazing thing where if you spend a significant amount of time kind of building out those systems, but, like, not concerned if everybody sees them or not, I think that's really great. Like, it's an impressive, like, design philosophy, honestly. Apparently they've been working on this since Fallout 3 shipped, and then they stopped for a while, or it was on the back burner while they did Skyrim, and Elder Scrolls Online was also part of that. But all the new stuff they saw, or they showed rather, I saw from the Fallout 4 announcement or extended preview, it was very encouraging, very cool. Everything from just the way the game starts. You're going to start off before the bombs fall, like right before the bombs fall, and there's all this other stuff and that you can do. Like I said, all this optional business. They also announced like a special edition for the game, the Pip-Boy edition, which comes with a big hunk of plastic that looks like a Pip-Boy that you can snap your smartphone into, and have a second screen experience. Which it seems like they may be a little late to the party on that. That's kind of something that kind of came and went. It's not really in vogue anymore, but I suppose it will come back around. The technology just had to catch up to it. Maybe it's caught up to it at this point. Which it might be interesting, I guess, to have on your phone, like your kind of your character management, inventory, weapons, like stuff like that. It could be interesting. I'm kind of curious to see how well it works. But the big thing that they said about this, the real takeaway of this thing, is that game comes out on November 10th of this year, which there was a lot of speculation. I kind of, as soon as they announced that Doom, while I was watching it, like, because before I started watching the conference, I didn't really have an opinion. I was like, well, it couldn't, I don't know, maybe. But as soon as they said that Doom was coming out in 2016, and they kind of hinted that Dishonored 2 was also coming out in 2016, I was like, well, they're going to have to announce something for this year. This is the 2015, like, E3 presentation. Like, something has to come out this year. I guess it's going to be Fallout 4. So it's going to come out November 10th, and then it'll probably be playable by the end of November, once there's some patches come out. Because this is a Bethesda game, and it's going to be buggy as fuck. Which is something we all suffer through because of the quality of these games. Like, these games are so good and so engrossing, it's worth kind of suffering through a lot of bullshit that you wouldn't put up from other games. That's kind of how I feel about the same way about The Witcher 3. Like, there's a lot of bugs, there's a lot of problems. There's times I've had to shut that fucking thing off and restart or reload a save because somebody wouldn't move to the right place, or a marker would disappear or wouldn't activate correctly. But, like, the game is so good, it's easy to look past those faults. And we're probably going to have a very similar experience with Fallout 4. I can't imagine this thing's going to go out the door perfect. I'd be really happy, that'd be great, but I kind of doubt it's going to happen. But yeah, that was the big takeaway from the show, obviously. That was the big thing. Everybody was waiting for them to talk about Fallout 4. Some more Fallout 4. It would have been nice to see a little bit more of Dishonored 2. But, I'll take what I can get. Like, it's cool just to know that it exists. Arcane Studios is making it. The same people that made the first one. I really love the first one, so I can't wait to see what they do with the second one. How they improve on the formula that they already built, The foundation that's already there has a lot of potential, so I'm really excited about it. Well, alright everybody, that's going to do it for me. I'm Shaun, and I will talk to you guys next time I got something to talk about.